My guest is a man who's been described as Trump's most trusted pollster. He's with Americans for a Balanced Budget. The website Stop Health Cost Hikes, that's plural, stophealthcosthikes.com. John McLaughlin. John, the mantra is that the extension of the Trump tax cuts benefits the rich. Sometimes they say solely benefits the rich. Sometimes they say only benefits the rich. Sometimes they say mostly benefits the rich. And the other one is the assertion that the big, beautiful bill kicks deserving people off Medicaid. Can you address both those things?
Sure. Well, first of all, what the Democrats don't like to hear is when we polled the components of that in December, 71% of all voters favor no tax on tips. That's in there. 67% of all voters, supported no tax on overtime, and 82% supported the lower taxes on seniors who are getting Social Security. Those three components are in there. Now, the other two things, the Democrats say we're cutting Medicaid. But you know who we're cutting off Medicaid? Illegal immigrants. Because Americans who pay taxes, who can't afford their own health care, the majority of Americans say 64 to 25 that they approve of not paying for illegal immigrants to get Medicaid. Also, you have 65% of all voters supported requiring able-bodied adults who can work, who choose not to go be forced to work and work fair in order to be on Medicaid. So you don't want people. Well, this, and by the way, that's why Americans for Balanced Budget. What people don't see coming is the marketplace for the ACA healthcare exchanges. Those come back up in October, and basically you have 83% of all voters support the tax credits that are in that market, and so that working people who choose to work, who want to afford healthcare, whose employers can't afford it, they work 2 or 3 jobs, and they work for small businesses, minimum wage workers. If they're getting the ACA healthcare, they want the tax credits to go with it, and the voters support it, 83 to 10. And also 86% of all voters support those marketplaces. So right now, you've got a situation where in the fall, Congress has to act on that. While in the meantime, what they've done is they've repaired the system in that we're not going to, if people come here illegally, we're not going to reward them with free healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
If people who can work, able-bodied adults who choose not to, we're not going to reward them with free healthcare. And instead, those people who do work, and this is why the tax cuts are pro-growth and will create more jobs. If you want to work overtime, if you want to work for tips, if you want to be a senior who goes back to work, you will get a tax cut. That grows the economy. And the first step, by the way, during the first campaign for president in 2016, President Trump, he announced on trade and immigration, which people thought he was right on and wanted to be fair. But at one point he says to me before the New York primary, he says, "You think I need a tax cut?" I said, "Yeah, you're running a Republican primary." And he says, "Where did I go?" And call Larry Kudlow, Steve Moore, Steve Forbes. They wrote it for Giuliani. They wrote it for Art Laffer.
Right.
They wrote it for Christy Todd Whitman, George Pataki. They'll get you a tax cut. And they did. And just like Reagan, because Kudlow worked for Reagan, the Trump tax cuts in the first term worked. They went into effect too late. And that was the signature achievement of his first term, because you had a growing economy where people's wages were going up. And if the wages will go up, that's the best way to deal with inflation, because if your wages go up, you can handle, the prices if they stabilize, which President Trump says. Price of gas is down, price of different food commodities are coming down. He's only been in office 6 months, and Biden's damage. When you think of the $2 trillion he triggered with that $2 trillion spending bill that we didn't have the money for, and then he surrenders Afghanistan. That's when Donald Trump went ahead in the polls and never looked back. Yeah,
and of course Dow Jones hitting record highs, NASDAQ, S&P 500. Explain to me, let's go back to Social Security, John. I remember the mantra was no tax on Social Security, but I guess that's means tested. We only have 1 minute left. Explain exactly how it works regarding taxes on Social Security.
Well, what they're doing is they're giving seniors tax credits so that they won't, in effect, that income they won't be paying taxes on. And that's what happened when you hit Congress. So President Trump, without a doubt, did his best to get it done, but he had to use the mechanism of tax credits to get it through in the reconciliation. But the good part is most seniors are going to, like 9 out of 10 seniors are going to see a tax cut because they won't be paying taxes on this, federal income taxes on this Social Security, which is crazy.
The website is stophealthcosthikes.com, Americans for a Balanced Budget. My guest has been John McLaughlin. John, as always, thank you very much for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Larry. Keep up the great work. Get out the message and the facts.
I'm doing my best.